Welcome to the Next Play podcast. We've got two very special guests today. I've got my sometime co-host Josh Templeton. Josh, how you doing, buddy? Good to see you. The toboggan looks great. If you're watching,
It's cold outside.
it's cold outside. We had a little bit of snow here, so the whole city is shut down. We have special guests. We have Riley Costas and we have Blake Campbell of Berry College. Very special guest, the Berry College men's basketball team. Gentlemen, how are we doing today?
Good.
Good to have. So,
Doing
uh,
well.
so Josh, one of the things these two guys, I was going to act like Blake was not my stepson and just kind of talk and not act like he was, but I think let's just go ahead and admit that he is my stepson and just was named Conference Player of the Week. He should have got it last week. It's
Congrats, Blake.
Riley
Thank you.
Art. What's the name of the conference? The Southland Athletic Conference? Southern Athletic Conference.
Southern Athletic Association.
Oh, my bad, Riley. So, all right. So, Blake is my stepson, player of the week. He's killing it, averaging a lot of points a game. However, he's not my favorite player on their team, Josh. My favorite player is Riley Costas, also known as Game 7, because every possession to him is like Game 7. He is my favorite player, undisputedly, on the team. And Blake knows this, and I've shared this. So, Josh, a little background. Riley started out the season as the GA. He had a great career, and he was like, I'm done. I'm going to coach. And I told him last year at the banquet, I said, Riley, man, we really need you to play. You're going to regret not playing. And he said, I'm just coaching. Well, this guy comes out of retirement, starts playing after Christmas break. They absolutely, excuse my language, sucked before Riley comes out there. Now they are killing it. They just destroyed two teams over the weekend. So go
sounds
ahead.
like the glue is back.
Yeah,
Sounds like the glue is back.
Yes, yeah, and Riley's the guy that's not going to get Player of the Week. It's going to go to Blake or the guys scoring a lot of points. But Riley is my favorite player. So, Blake, let's talk about how Riley is so valuable to the Berry College Vikings.
Yeah, I think Josh gave a perfect word for him. He is like the glue. He's just like a guy who just shows incredible leadership and both verbally and by example. I mean, like when you watch him play defense, it makes you want to play defense, And when
People that don't know what they're looking at don't get Riley Costas. I don't think Riley understands what a great compliment it is for me. I mean, for me to give him this compliment. I don't think he grasps who I am. Josh, can you explain to Riley the brilliance of my mind when it comes to basketball? Please go ahead.
I will say Tommy's one of the best basketball minds I've ever been around, and he loves nothing more than a great glue guy. And he showed up in his recruiting. We always had one at Lee, a couple that come off the dome, Chad James, Chad Lee, Cole Rose. Like we had those guys that were they're mean. They play hard every single possession. They're the point guard of the defense, communicating, making sure everybody's there. And, their big deal is winning possessions, not just getting buckets.
Hey, Josh, you got to go. You should be going to games anyway. You got to go watch this dude play. We haven't even let him talk yet. But he's got to lead the nation.
It's the best intro ever.
Yeah, he leads the nation in charges. It's not even close. I'm telling you, they were so bad defensively before he gets back. I mean, he does all the hell. Like he's just telling everybody where to go. He's communicating. And the thing, like they have another player on their team. I'm not going to mention his name, but like I hadn't seen him say a word all season. Then he hits a couple threes. Now all of a sudden he's talking and telling everybody where to go. Well, I mean, come on, man. What is that? So Riley,
hey, I got a question though, Riley. How did this conversation go? Were y'all sitting in a coaches meeting with you as the GA, and coach was just like, "What are you doing? Get out here. What's up?" How did the conversation go?
That's a good
So technically I was a volunteer. I wasn't the GA. But like over the course of like the summer and the spring, I obviously thought about it a lot. Just like big decision for me, but I felt like it was the right decision for me to go into coaching, and just felt like it was something that I'd be passionate about. I could build a career in. Um, but like after sitting on the bench for our first game, like that's kind of what flipped the switch for me. We lost
Yeah.
lost to
Real
Belhaven,
player.
and on the way on the bus ride home, I was just like, man, I was texting with my girlfriend and just like, I think I'm gonna see if coach will let me come back and play. Like I just don't think I can sit here and watch this knowing that I can be out there helping our team win in a better way. Like obviously I could bring value as a coach, but I felt like I could bring a little bit more value as a player. So I think it was the next day or the day after, I went into Coach Hedgebeth's office and just basically was like, Coach, you know how sometimes you joke about me coming back and it's not too late? He was like, yeah. And I was like, well, if I can, I want to come back and play. So that's
awesome.
kind of what started it.
I bet he figured as much would happen.
I was telling Blake, I was like, you got to get him out there. You got to get him out there. I was working Blake the whole time to get him out there. It's so amazing the difference he makes. And yeah, it's just powerful. All right. That's enough for praising Riley and boosting Riley and putting up Riley. Let's get down to the mind of this all. So, all right. So Blake, this is a little different because I watch you play all the time. I actually didn't get to see much this past weekend, but Blake, who is averaging mid-20s, whatever he's averaging, was not shooting well from the three-point line at all, Josh. Like literally, that was, I don't know,
Like
just
22%, I think.
22%. Okay, so then all of a sudden, last weekend against on Sunday, whoever they were playing, what was it, center? Not center, Hendricks. So they're playing Hendricks, and all of a sudden, Josh he hits a three. Did you hit one in the first half? Maybe is that what?
No.
Okay. So he hadn't hit a three. Then he hit 6 threes within 9 minutes of the second half. So from the 20, he hit 6 threes in 9 minutes. I'm telling you, I don't know he'd hit 6 all year. Then all of a sudden he hit 6.
I hit 8 before that.
He hit 8 before that, and then he hit 6 in 9 minutes. The last one, I swear, he shot it, didn't even look at it, and ran back.
Little Steph
He was
Curry.
off some ball screen, and didn't even look at it. So, Blake, I would like you to explain that to the viewers and the listeners. I mean, what happens from making 8 all year to 6 in 9 minutes?
Well, I mean, growing up and previously, like I've been a shooter, like I've been able to shoot, and that's been like my calling card, almost like my main attribute, I guess. And so then this year I was just really focused on getting to the rim a lot, because I just feel like that's one of the strengths that I've grown over time. And so I always knew I could shoot, and it was like teams were like still playing me like a shooter, so getting to the rim was easier for me. So I just felt like shooting was like on the back burner almost. So I wasn't really focused on it, but I also would take open ones and they just were not going in. And in my head, it was just like, I talked to my dad a lot about it, and I talked to you about it too, Tommy, about just how like the law of averages will play out. Like I know I'm a good shooter. I put the work in. Like eventually the averages will fall in. That's just simple math. So it's just all about shooting. Like I just had to keep telling myself that the next one was in, and like I just kept shooting it and just take what they give you, take what the defense gives you, and just keep looking for shots. So
yeah,
that was actually something I was going to ask was how have you guys ever been through slumps and how you deal with it? I actually wasn't aware of what the slumps were, because I kind of have a theory on slumps that it's best to care less about whether your shot goes in, because you press too much when you start caring too much.
It's the great paradox, Riley, of work your tail off like your life depends on it, but in the heat of the moment, realize it doesn't really matter life or death wise. That's the one of the keys to that. So that we found. So it's incredible, how big that rim, and it was obviously in your head. it was obviously all in your head. And Blake
Oh, yeah.
Blake is not soft. He's mentally tough. And it's just fascinating how the mental piece of it goes.
Yeah,
And
I will say it's almost like when you're in that slump, it's almost like you're trying to fix your shot almost as if you messed
Yeah.
it up along the
That's
way.
the worst
But
part.
really, that's the worst part. And then you're trying to micromanage, that one was long, let's shoot this one short. And then the next one's short because you're short arming it, or that one was to the left, let's shoot this one to the right. But the whole time, all you really need to do is just shoot it like you haven't shot before. Like shoot it like you're in the gym by yourself, like
yeah,
it doesn't matter.
yeah, yes, absolutely. All right, so Riley, so I've got a theory on your shooting. So Riley plays so hard on defense. I think what happens with guys that are warriors like that, when they get on offense, they've got to relax and because defensively you got to have great effort. You got to be so attuned, but offensively it's about relaxation a little bit. So thoughts on that, Josh? Coach Riley up right
Yeah.
here. Because the shot looks good when it goes in. And I think Riley could be more offensively, but I think his team needs him to be Riley, game 7 Costas. So
the sign of a really good, really, really, really good player, I think, is the ability to change gears. And the best players that I've ever seen, a lot of people would be like, oh, they're not playing hard. Well, actually that's because they're too busy playing well, because offense isn't played at 100% full throttle like often defense is. You're on it, you're in a stance all the time, you're jumping to the ball all the time, you're active, your mouth's moving. An offense, Dick DeVinzio said, should be played at a smooth 87%, where sometimes you're backing it up, sometimes you're surveying what's going on, sometimes you're taking a little bit of time off the shot clock, for your team to be able to win. So I think being able to change those gears offensively really helps. And then the game starts to really slow down for you. Like if you watch the NBA, it looks like college guys are playing so much harder than NBA guys. It's just because the NBA guys are so stinking good offensively that they know they don't have to play hard. They get to their spots and they do their thing.
Yeah, no doubt. So Riley, 1,000 questions I have for you, but talk about where did this natural or whatever, where did your defensive mentality come from? Where did you learn to communicate so well? Where did you learn the rotations, this high IQ way you play? Riley's also, I mean, how tall are you? 6'2"? What are we listed as? 6'3"?
6'2". I listed at 6'4", but I'm 6'2".
Yeah, and he's guarding the 5 a lot of times. And he does it. What are you, 200 pounds, 210? What do we weigh? 190?
195, yeah.
Okay. So, he's not exactly Shaquille O'Neal down there. So, where does that mentality come from, that defensive mentality? And because you're different. I mean, you realize you're different, correct? Do you see
On defense? Yes.
Okay, where did that come from?
I would say like ever since I was in 5th grade, like playing actual non-rec organized basketball, I had a really awesome coach who really just poured into me, and I played for him in AAU from 5th grade until I was done with AAU, going into my senior year of high school. And I would say I learned a lot from him. But
What
even
AAU
starting in
program was that? What was that?
God's Property, we were based out of Atlanta.
So Riley,
Not every day you learn a lot about defense from your AAU program. No offense to AAU programs, but usually it's a lot more up and down.
Yeah.
But
What high
starting
school did you go
in
to again in
St.
Atlanta?
Pius. St. Pius.
St. Pius. There you go.
Yeah.
You guys used to play in that. Did y'all used to play in that tournament down in Destin over Christmas break? Did you ever play in that?
I didn't. I don't know if they did before me, but we usually hosted a Christmas tournament.
Okay.
St.
I
Pius
saw them one time.
St. Pius is a big time program. So
yeah.
All right, Josh, next question. You got it. What do you got?
Both you guys, what do you think is the key this year? It's like, what do you guys need to improve on to really make the run that you want to make?
Costas, you can go first.
Okay. I would say we've kind of almost discovered the formula in our last two games this past weekend. We've
I mean, what
struggled a
was it?
lot.
What happened? Y'all beat them by 40 each on the road. Two good teams. You beat them by 40 points each. Explain
Yeah,
that.
we started taking care of the ball a lot better.
Mm.
That was one of our big perils on offense was we were just turning it over way too much. And we've talked about that all year. So I think this weekend we did a really good job taking care of the ball and then defensively just like really locking in on what we need to do, knowing the scout and really just like making the plays necessary and all the reads necessary on defense to really hold teams because we know that we can score with anybody, but it really just comes down to guarding and not giving up 80 points a game.
Mm.
Block.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
like
agree 100% with what Costas said. On offense, yeah, like taking care of the ball has been a big problem for us in the past. Like we just, and that leads to, giving up points on the other end because most of the time when you turn it over, a good team at least will capitalize on that and score on the other end. So I think, I guess I'll throw me and Braxton under the bus a little bit. It's been me and him a lot in those earlier games, turning it over a lot combined between us, like 10 a game, probably a lot.
do you think
And
that your shooting woes had a little bit to do with that? Like you're pressing a little bit, maybe you're not taking open threes when you should, and you're forcing drives or forcing plays?
I do think
He,
that,
he was taking good shots. It was he has a broken wrist and a broken pinky, and I think that was part of his issue with his hand.
That sounds
Because
like an
I'm but
excuse. That
because
sounds
I'm
like an
gonna go
excuse from a
it
stepdad.
is.
because I'm
It
gonna
is.
go ahead. It was really the rest. They sucked and they were not calling.
Yeah, but anyway, I will say, like, we started taking care of the ball more, and I just feel like that gives us more shots, and we have guys on our team who
Mm,
can really shoot and really score it. So, taking care of the ball, that helps on defense as well. Because I mean, we shot as a team. I think we were 62% from three these last two games, or something crazy like that. 58%,
wow.
which is nuts. So that helps. We have less empty possessions, and that means we get to get back on defense and set up what we need to set up so that we're not scrambling and rushing, on the defensive end. So
Here's what it
Yeah, that's
is,
it.
right? Here's what it is. Because I've watched them all year. What happens when you're good defensively? It really puts a lot less pressure on you offensively, and so
Yeah.
it's easier to make shots when there's just not all this, there's not so much pressure on it. When you're giving up 80 points a game, you got to score every time just to stay in the game. It's
Yeah.
just too hard.
It's
And so
never
they're
just one thing, you know?
yeah,
Yeah. So it's always hard to put fingers on stuff sometimes.
and so it was their ability defensively was just putting too much pressure on them
Yeah.
offensively, which is why Riley was so important, him coming back, because that really, like, he literally erases a multitude of mistakes by his teammates defensively because he's always in the right spot and he's helping. He's the best help defender in the world and he's getting people places. So literally, I mean, that's worth 10 points defensively, and it just
yeah,
it helps so much offensively.
yeah.
Plus, once you start beating someone down, shots are easier to make too. So
Hey, Blake, what'd you average last year? Do you have any idea?
I averaged right around like 12 and a half.
Yeah, so this is a huge jump, and that takes a second to get used to,
Yeah,
because now all of a sudden teams are totally clued in on you, and you're like the first guy on the game plan on the scout. Like Riley's over here saying, "Yeah, we're doing a better job with the scout. We know the scout." Other teams are doing the same thing,
yeah,
and I noticed when we had 1,000 point score, and he scored 1,000 points in one season, and he
yeah,
graduated going into my junior year, and I had to pick up a lot of the scoring load, and I went through a horrible slump right at the beginning of that season. And halfway through the year, we were at the Christmas break, I decided I don't care anymore about where the shots go in, but also like I was just going to be a point guard all of a sudden. You know what I mean? I'm going to distribute. I'm going to get people shots. I was surrounded with guys that could shoot, like you're saying that you are. And it was almost like that was my mindset going into games. And then next thing I knew, I was averaging 25 for that second semester. And that was because like the defense loosens up. You know what I mean? Like, and all of a sudden their game plan's screwed because Riley's hit 3 threes in 90 seconds. And it's like, well, what the heck just happened?
Yeah, for
Hey,
sure.
Blake, that's a great point Josh makes, but
Yeah.
he can always bring whatever back to his own ability as a player. So just keep that in mind. Like he can
I
always
never do that.
He can always tie it back into his greatness as a player.
You've
So
never heard me do that. That's the first time
just
I've ever done that, Blake.
Yeah.
That actually.
Yeah, that is like a good point, a really good point though, because even though I was in a shooting slump from 3, technically I was
Mhm.
still scoring a lot of points. So, but that the number one guy on the scout point is a really
Yeah.
crucial, because me and our coaches have talked about that a lot. Because when I'll drive, it'll be 2, 3 guys in there waiting for me. So then it's
Once guys start, go ahead.
more like facilitating and looking to kick out, because then
And you'll
sorry, I'm stuttering around, but
no, you're good.
like I kick it out or whatever, and then the defense realizes like, oh, he's not just looking to go down there and get a bucket, like he's looking to make the play, and then there's less help the next time I drive, or a couple times later.
Yeah, they're stunting instead of staying in that gap.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Hey, folks, Blake is an engineering major, by the way. He's not majoring in
Yeah.
eligibility. Like
Yeah.
Josh majored
Oh,
in
yeah.
eligibility, Blake.
Oh, Blake, you drive trains? You gonna drive trains?
There is a huge adjustment to being on the top of that. And so the next step for Blake Riley, in my opinion, is those late games where you're going to be in a tight situation. He's just got to get used to being the leading scorer, and know too. The good thing about y'all's team now, Riley, is that all these guys that are shooting so well, they've got this freshman that's just, I tell you, the Weingarten kid, however you say his name.
Yeah,
Riley, talk about him, man. That guy's got. I just feel like he's trying to think of a proper way to put this on a podcast, but he's just got guts, man. He's got something in him. Talk about him a little bit, Riley.
Yeah, I'm like really excited about Drew. He's going to be a great player over the course of his career. He really shoots the ball really well and has a lot of confidence. And I think at the beginning of the season, just being a freshman, like moving into college, he kind of needed the game to slow down a little bit for him. He's kind of moving a little bit too fast in his head. But I think it started to slow down a lot for him recently. And that's just helped him in every single aspect. Like we have him guard the other team's best player on defense, and he comes down and hits shots on offense. He's been really, really solid, and he's going to have a really, really good career at Barry.
Yeah, and he just doesn't. The moment's not too big for him. He's just one of those guys. It's really cool.
It's one of those things you can't really teach, and they just are.
Yeah, no doubt. All right, let's talk about mindset a little bit. So, Riley, what have you done? What do you do to keep from overthinking it? Because one of the key, the reason what I have a job doing what I do, teaching mental performance, is athletes overthink it. They overthink it. They overthink it. So, how do you clear your head and keep from overthinking it?
Yeah, I think pregame is one of the most important parts. To keep yourself from just getting in your own head, kind of overthinking stuff. I like to like after a game, I'll watch the film and kind of narrow down the things I want to improve on for next game to 1 or 2 things. And I'll just tell myself going into that game, like, these are the 2 things. This is the one thing I want to focus on today. Like take care of the ball and rebound. And then I'll go into the game, and those are the only 2 things I'm thinking about. And I'm really focused on, but everything else still comes along with it. So yeah, that's kind of the main thing.
That's good stuff.
For sure.
What you got?
Yeah, like pretty much exactly like what Costas said. I like to really just focus in on like what the plan is that game, and like what our goal is. Obviously the goal is to win, but defensive goals and offensive goals, like what can we do to attack the other team, that where are their weaknesses. And like most of the teams we played recently, it's been in transition, so we're just trying to get out and run. And if we slow it down, then we're just trying to run our offense with pace and, you know, try and tire them down so that on the defensive end, it's almost easier for us because they're already worn out from guarding us. So.
Hey, Josh, I need your feedback on this, and let's do it on this podcast. I've started using this new analogy for how to deal with mistakes. So mistakes are inevitable. The greatest players of all time made mistakes. If you miss 60% of your threes, you're elite. So what this whole mistake response that you and I have talked about a billion times. But imagine, this is disgusting, folks, but imagine it's like a toilet. And if you you need to flush the toilet right away, correct? Like you have to flush it. Is it too much?
Yeah,
John?
you can't let the mistakes pile up. Then you'll just have a heaping, steaming pile.
Otherwise, what happens? It gets clogged, does it not? Yeah. So
It
to be
does, and it's not good for
frustrated,
anybody.
yeah, to be frustrated with a mistake is natural. That's competition. That's being competitive. But you got to flush it. You got to flush that toilet. What do you think
Yeah.
about that analogy?
You know, I like that. Ironically, you know,
Is
a
that
lot
too
of times
much,
girls
Riley?
have a
Does
harder
that
time.
resonate with you, Riley? Flush the toilet. You got to flush it.
Yeah, the coach I mentioned earlier that poured into me growing up, he used to say that all the time.
You mean I didn't come up with it? No, that's me. That's the
I'm
first
sorry
time.
to say. I'm sorry to say. I don't think so.
Man, that
You
breaks
must have
my
heard
heart.
that somewhere, and it was like buried into your
No,
subconscious or
this is
something.
all me. I've got it copyrighted. And be honest with you, we're not even going to post this podcast now. You know, Blake's little brother Graham refuses to flush the toilet. By the way, like it drives me nuts. Like you can't even flush the toilet. Anyway, so Blake, you like that? Flush the toilet? Flush
I
it.
do like that, yeah.
So
Flush it.
yeah. All right, Josh, ask us the
2
last.
syllables, simple.
Yeah, but it's that.
Okay, I understand the metaphor.
Well, I know you understand it. I'm not questioning you. All right, go
No,
ahead.
it's
You got
good.
some-
It's good. It works.
Is it a metaphor or analogy?
Analogy, metaphor, same thing.
Yeah. So and both these guys are high. Barry's a
We're
high
not getting.
academic institution.
Yeah.
You know, it's not like they're.
I mean, maybe it's not the same thing. An analogy is a story, or like a parable. A metaphor could be a word. All right,
You
whatever.
talk to an
Anyways.
English professor, yeah, they probably will get down and dirty. But for our purpose, probably the same thing.
Yeah, well, I'll pass on that.
All right,
So
Josh.
here's my question.
Last question.
What advice? Just elaborate a little bit on maybe your process, but adjusting from high school to college basketball. We know that, you know, I think a lot of kids are figuring out that the expectations in recruiting, you know, they're not going to reach what they got because of outside factors like, you know, the COVID year, the transfer portal and all that stuff. So a lot of kids that are D1 are going down. Like people don't understand how good D3 and D2 basketball is. And that is still a huge adjustment for a really good player coming out of high school. How did you guys handle that adjustment? And you talked about the freshmen adjusting to the speed and the game slowing down. What advice do you have for players that are going to be going into college that they're going to get smacked in the face with this adjustment that they got to make? They got to kind of, hey, this is a great level of basketball.
Here,
I
I'll
can
go
just
first.
start.
Never mind.
You got it, Blake. Nope. You took it first, man. Go for it.
One thing I would say for anybody, for the young guys coming up is just like really like buy into the system and buy into what your coach is saying, because at the end of the day, like he's the one that makes the decisions and what he says goes. So if you really buy into what he's trying to do, then the game will come to you almost. So like for instance, buying into the offense, like the game will seem super fast at first, but if you really buy into the offense and really focus on that, then you'll understand where people are in the offense when you have the ball, or where you should be when people have the ball, and that will just help slow the game down. And I think a good example is Drew Weingarten. He's done a really good job of that. Like he's just always where we think he is, which makes him a perfect target for us to kick him out, So then he just gets open looks and good looks. So just really buying in on defense and on offense, and just it is like you said, a punch in the face. I mean, you got to be ready for that. You got to. I like to use the word have some dog in you. Have some dog in you.
Mm,
Get ready to fight a little bit. It's not going to be easy.
yeah. I
Gotta
don't
have a
think
little of
there's
that grundy,
anybody that,
right?
yeah.
Gotta have
I
that
don't think
grundy
there's
in you.
anybody that plays college basketball on a good team that's not a dog. On a good
Exactly.
team.
Yeah.
Like everybody's a dog.
Yeah.
What you got, Riley?
I would second what Blake said, and then also just like on top of that, honing in on what really makes you great as a player. So for me,
Mm,
I've never really been like super skilled, but I've always been a hustle guy. And I think I've just kind of gone deeper, even more so, into that role as I went into college, because that's what you're getting recruited for, is the things that you've shown in high school. And when you get to college, like your coaches are looking to see that from you. And I think for me, it was just like going even deeper into that hole and becoming more of a hustle player, better on defense, and just really like not worrying too much about my weaknesses. Obviously, you have to work on those and improve those, but really just trying to improve on my strengths and get better and better at those so that I can
mm.
bring more and more value as a player.
I'm
Well, you're
hearing that
my
you embraced your identity as a player.
Oh yeah, 100%.
yeah. Josh, I need a commitment from you that you're gonna go down there with me and watch them soon.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna come check y'all out, especially now. I gotta see this.
Yeah, you
It's
got it.
funny. I had a friend that used to say people don't understand how good college basketball is. D3 basketball is just Division I basketball, except they're 3 to 5 inches shorter.
Yeah, no, and
It's
no,
just really-
these
That's
guys
the
are really
truth.
good. These guys are
That's the
really
truth.
good. They're really good, and I look out there, and they're all like. Even last year, they had this tragic loss to Sewanee in the conference final after they dominated the whole league. And I'm looking out there, and it is such a great game. And I'm looking out there, and I'm thinking, all these guys are such high academic, smart guys that are competing their tail off. It really just was one of the most pure things you'll ever
Yeah.
see. It's just the level of the way they were just laying it all on the line, and they're all like engineering or have real majors. It was beautiful. It really was beautiful. And so it's so fun to watch. It gives me hope for society. So well, gentlemen, you guys have been great, and we'll see you soon. Josh made a commitment to watch you guys, and hey, Berry Vikings, go see them. Rome, Georgia, they're so good. It's they don't even charge you to get in, which is ridiculous, but they don't need your money. It's what Barry says. We don't need your $5, $7. We got enough money down there. That's what we do. So anyway, go see them. These guys are great. Thank you for being with us. As always, please give us that 5-star. Subscribe. If you got something negative to say, just keep it to yourself. And we are out, and we appreciate you. Till next time. Thank you, gentlemen.
Sure.
Peace.
Thanks for having us.